Let's talk about gifts. We do purchase a stock of items to use as gifts for selling a big piece of business, for visiting meeting and convention customers, for dignitaries, or when we visit such officials in different locations. Examples of these gifts include pens, cufflinks, and leather goods such as card holders or luggage tags. We also purchase boxes of chocolates on occasion to use as gifts. Let's talk about the backpack. The airline lost and damaged my bag, and they told me when I filed the claim to go and buy a new backpack and submit the expense to the airline for reimbursement. I bought the backpack. I then came back to the office, turned in my receipts to our accounting department, and for whatever reason there was a clerical error or an oversight, and it was never submitted to the airline for reimbursement, and it was paid for by VisitDallas. Unfortunately, I found out about this during the audit process. As soon as it was brought to my attention, I wrote a personal check to cover the cost of the backpack. Now let's talk about meal expenses. For the last year of the audit, the total meal expenses for the entire year was $2,400. If you add it up, that's less than $25 per day for the 2 years covered. Not per meal, per day. So that is the extent of the expenses, the meal expenses that have been identified in the audit. Now let's talk about hotel rooms. The reality is that the $17,069 hotel expense was for over 50 lodging nights over the course of that period, and with the average cost of $340 per night. Now this was in some cases above policy limits at the time. We've since updated the policy to include new limits so that it's reflective of the market, but each and every expenditure over and above the guidelines were approved by the chair of the finance committee or the chair of the board. Let's talk about the car service. I use Uber, I use Lyft, I take taxis, I run, I walk, I take public transportation. But in these two cases, I had to use a car service, and there's a very simple explanation for it. I went to New York, and I was staying in Manhattan, and I had to go to Purchase, New York, which is where PepsiCo is located. Had a meeting with PepsiCo, was able to join our colleagues from the TD Jakes ministry, and we were able to secure a $1 million contribution to help offset and sponsor MegaFest. I could not get Uber to take me there because it's a one-way trip. They refused because they said there's no return, and I didn't know how long I would be there, so we had to use, in this instance, a car service